On this episode of Ranked and Reviewed, we are reviewing Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe.
Is 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition.
The Earth sucks. Wait a minute. I think the floor's not working. Look at that number up there on the billboard.
There's a 2, and then some kind of circle.
No, dumbass, not that number. That one. 69. This show sucks. It's like just these fat people standing there.
I am Cornholio! I need TV for my bungle!
Who are you, fart knockers?
Amusing, yes.
Humorous, yes.
Satirical comment on the time.
Yes, amusing.
Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe, a new movie streaming June 23rd, exclusively on Paramount+.
Bevis, this changes everything.
Hello everyone and welcome to Ranked and Reviewed. I am your host as always, TOMYE West, and joining me as always as well is my co-host, ALANNIS Maximus.
What's up?
Now, if you haven't already, please subscribe, like, and share, and leave a comment because it makes us feel good, makes you feel good. That's the deal, right, Alan?
That is the deal, and the check will be in the mail. We're broke. There's no check.
We're actually asking Elon Musk right now if he'll take over our business. Anyway, right now, we're about to do something really fun, and that is review the new Beavis and Butthead movie, Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe. Now, obviously, it wouldn't be ranked and reviewed if we didn't do all the movies from this franchise, which is a grand total of one more, so 2. So next week, we're going to bring you a special extra episode. We're not going to let it interfere with our Batman Ranked and Reviewed series. Next week, you're still going to get your Dark Knight Rises review, and you're going to get the review for Beavis and Butthead Do America. Now, how you been anyway, Alan?
Good. I'm glad it is Friday. At least where
It's
we are.
Friday, huh? I got my kid this weekend. Going trampolining in a trampoline place. That'll be fun.
Ah, nice.
Probably die of doing no cardio for the rest of the last 10 years. Just jumping on trampolines, and you'll get a phone call tomorrow. You'll be like, you're all gonna have to do the podcast forever on your own because Tom just had a heart attack on a trampoline or some shit. So, anyway,
I mean, if you're gonna go out, then trampoline's a pretty good way to do it. Like,
I don't know. I'm trying to think of something else that would be. Yeah, you're right. Trampoline's pretty good. I mean, it'd be pretty good going out like while you're in the middle of intercourse.
that's true. Intercourse on a trampoline.
With a jetpack on.
Yeah, there you go.
That'd be wild.
That's the way to go.
Sometimes we just don't fucking make any sense on this podcast. But thank you everyone who watches us. I wouldn't watch
You
it.
make sense.
All right, so with that, let's get into the overview of this movie. Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe, 2022. We've got an IMDb rating currently of 7.6 out of 10. The synopsis reads a little like this. After a creative judge sentences Beavis and Butthead to space camp, a black hole sends our adolescent heroes 24 years into the modern future, where the duo misuse iPhones, embark on a quest to score, and become targets of the deep state. Now, this is directed by Mike Judge, written by Mike Judge, Guy Max Tone Graham, and Ian Max Tone Graham, and it stars Mike Judge, Mary Birdsong, and Gary Cole. Now, I'm having a look if we can find out what I would like to find out, but I can't seem to find it. I was hoping we would be able to find the budget for it, but we're not gonna find that. So, with that, that's the overview done. Let's get straight into our thoughts. And as usual, Alan, take the floor.
It was good. I think first and foremost, they did not water anything down or change anything of what Beavis and Butthead was. It was Beavis and Butthead. Like it's a big fan service, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's like it never stopped, and it didn't skip a beat.
I agree. As we were speaking about it just before we started recording, though, I do feel like Beavis and Butthead have gone through a shift over time. And for example, when I was younger, I used to watch Beavis and Butthead in the 90s. So like all the classic episodes everyone knows, you know, the no laughing episode where they're in sex ed and they're not allowed to laugh. That's a classic episode. But I feel like those series of Beavis and Butthead was a lot more juvenile, less clever, less thought out than the season we got later on, which was released. I'm going to have a quick look for you. It was released onto MTV. It came back to MTV for one.
I still haven't watched that series, and I need to.
Dude, you have to. It's the best season of Beavis and Butthead ever. It's awesome. So I'm going to go have a look here. And it says that... So I'm trying to have a look for when it came back, right? So can we find like an episode list here? Surely we can. I'm just gonna go. Anyway, it came back to MTV in the 2000s at some point, late 2000s. It was the best season by far, and it had done a lot of growing. So like, it was around like the Twilight sort of craze. It was around when like Jersey Shore was on. It was like when 16 and Pregnant was a thing all the time. And instead of bagging out music videos, they bagged out those sorts of shows like Jersey Shore, 16 and Pregnant and all that. And I loved that, man, because I thought the sitting there watching the music videos thing was a lot of filler in that show a lot of the time. But because it was over reality television, MTV-based reality television, I feel like Mike Judge had a lot more to work with rather than just abandon their song. I mean, it's hilarious listening to Beavis and Butthead talk about the smush room on Jersey Shore and like just do impersonations of all the Jersey Shore people. And the plot lines were a lot funnier. So if you haven't checked that season out, go check it out. But as I was in the middle of saying, I feel like it's gone through a change and has suddenly become... It's still Beavis and Butthead, as you said, but it has shifted into not just dumbass, silly jokes. It's actually got like layers to every sort of joke and how they deliver the lines and things like that. But we'll still throw in a classic sort of old school Beavis and Butthead joke here and there. Like, do you agree with how the tone sort of shifted a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. It's as you said, pretty much has a bit more thought to it. Yeah.
Like, for instance, in this movie, I love that bit, which we would have seen in the trailer, is when people are asking him to take a photo of them. And he's like, why are we watching this show? It's just a bunch of fat people doing nothing. Like, it's like people waiting to have a photo taken of them. There was so much clever stuff in it like that. And that also kind of mixes the old Beavis and Butthead style with the new Beavis and Butthead style, where it's showing you how stupid they are and they don't understand technology. But the joke behind what they're saying about how they don't understand how it works is clever, even though it's old school Beavis and Butthead just being stupid and not understanding. So the only complaint I'd have about this movie is that it could have, I think, had another 15 to 20 minutes on top. I think it was very short.
Yeah, it's only like about an hour and 25 minutes, I think, which is quite
25 minutes, which
quite
is
brief.
it's very small. Did you feel like it went too quickly? Because I just felt like that's a good thing in a way, because you're like, it leaves you wanting more. It also leaves you impressed with the movie because you didn't get so boring. But like, did you think it could have added more, or do you think that it was the perfect time?
It was satisfying, but yeah, it probably could have been maybe another 10, 15 minutes longer, and I would have been happy with it.
Like, let me ask you this question. This is a better way to ask it. If this was come back as a TV show and we had episode 1, right, and it was this movie, but 20 minutes shorter into an hour-long premiere episode for the season, tell me you wouldn't be sitting there going, I can't wait for the next week's episode.
Yeah, definitely.
So if I put it to you like that, now when you think, well, it's only 25 minutes longer, including credits, they could have definitely put in a little bit more just to fill it out a little bit more, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And what did you think of the whole plot? What did you think about the direction of, rather than like, I mean, in the first movie, it was called Beavis and Butthead Do America. So I'm surprised it didn't end up being like Beavis and Butthead Do the World and then maybe the universe, but we jumped straight to the universe. So what do you think about the whole sci-fi sort of futuristic tone they went for?
I think it was a clever way to bring it to modern day, rather than, because like there was, when it was originally kind of being rumored in that, there was all the concept images going around of them as being aged, and it was like, that's kind of where I thought it was going to go. But yeah, it was it's clever the way they kind of misdirected there, and then kind of had that jump where they've kind of been sucked through the black hole and brought that 24 years or whatever it is forward.
And I loved smart Beavis and smart Butthead.
Yeah.
Because they weren't much smarter.
Yeah. I love that laughing at her. It's like, yes, whimsical. Yes, yes.
I just love how they're not much smarter, but like they're still the smartest ones, and it's like the only way they're smarter is that they like repeat everything a lot. Like that's about it. Like, yeah. What did you think about how at the end how they ended up being the ones? They're like, we're still the only Beavis and Buttheads that have actually done it.
Yeah.
And I liked that the villain of this movie, the female lead villain, turns out at the end to just not be really that much of a villain, because she's like, oh, I totally get where these horny teenagers are coming from.
Yeah.
So after seeing this, do you think we are going to get a follow-up?
I hope so. And if it's being received, it seems to be being received really well. So fingers crossed, I reckon we will. And I think it would be pretty sensational. I think I'd like a series rather than just movies.
I have a feeling that's a big possibility because it's now on Paramount, yeah? So with Jackass, we got the new Jackass movie, which is on Paramount. And that made Paramount see how much money it made, being number one at the box office, and how well it succeeded during COVID times especially, made them go, we need a new series of that. And they've greenlit a Jackass TV series. I think that Paramount were like, oh, let's do Beavis and Butthead something. Let's do a movie first, see how that goes. And if it goes well enough and people like it, let's also bring back Beavis and Butthead. Because now then, you think about it, Paramount Plus are then working on Jackass, Beavis and Butthead, and they also got the Workaholics movie coming up. They also own all the South Park streaming stuff coming up. Like, they're slowly building up to be, in my opinion, one of the strongest streaming services. If they can, not now, but I'm saying within a year's time, 2 years' time, I can see them having a better collection of things that speak to me at least than Netflix.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm very excited for the Workaholics movie. I feel like that Game Over Man movie we got wasn't as good as the Workaholics TV show was. So I'm hoping the Workaholics movie is going to be awesome. And I just hope Paramount keep doing this. And yeah, they do give us a Beavis and Butthead series, and they give us a follow-up movie to this, and treat it like South Park is, where South Park are like releasing. Think about it. South Park just did the post-COVID show episode. They did like a bunch of specials, yeah, and they've all been hour-long episodes. So you can think about that. Beavis and Butthead basically just did what South Park have been doing all year, but South Park have been doing it over and over and over and over, like pretty consistently and quickly now, yeah? So I don't see why Beavis and Butthead couldn't be done in the same sort of fashion, you know?
Definitely. And it's I think it's financial demand is a lot less than something than say what Disney Plus are doing, where they're doing the Marvel Star Wars thing. Like it's a much smaller bite to take. I think it's going to be a lot easier for them to do it. And also, in a way, bring them almost as close with it, because, I mean, it's the perfect time. Everyone that watched Beavis and Butthead is around our age and can shell out the money for it. We're all kind of nearing our middle age in that, like our 30s, 40s.
Yeah, I totally agree. Sorry, man. 1 second. I'm just plugging in my LAN cable because I didn't realize it wasn't plugged in and I could see the connection dropping. And the last thing I want to do is have to re-record.
Like that Ranked and Reviewed. No, the podcast that.
Yeah, we did an episode of the podcast. And we checked it afterwards and it was completely fucked. And we had to do the whole thing again. And we were like, so Alan, have you heard the news? And you're like, no, Tom, I have not heard the news. Why don't you tell me? Oh, that sounds very good.
That is a surprise.
You said what? So, yeah, I think that this movie was really fun. And yeah, I think it's doing really well too, from what I'm hearing. The only reason I remembered this movie was out. Hold on a second, 1 sec. I'm just gonna fix this. So what I was saying was that the only reason I remembered this was actually out yesterday was because I saw on YouTube a video come up from Looper, and it said what the critics are saying about Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe, and I clicked it, and they said that it had all the critics had come out of the preview screening for it before it hit or whatever, and it was at 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, like all of yesterday, and which is unbelievable. So it looks like even the critics are favorable on this. I almost feel like it's the same case with what Jackass had, where Jackass 1, 2, all those movies were reviewed by critics like bombed, like completely bombed, were called like a joke, more like this isn't fucking movies, this is like ridiculous, this is dumb. And then Jackass is now over 20 years old, and the people that grew up watching those movies and loving those movies are now becoming the movie reviewers and the movie critics. And that's why Jackass Forever got such great critical reviews. And I think that the same thing has happened with Beavis and Butthead, where it has reached a time where people are nostalgic for this show, and people that are going to be reviewing it now are the people that will be nostalgic for it and used to watch it. While their parents were the ones that were like, I don't understand this show, it's fucking stupid. You know what I mean? So, I mean, do you feel that that's probably what?
Definitely. I'm also confused about how it's only got 7.5. It's like the people that don't like it, I think, just genuinely don't like Beavis and Butthead. It's
yeah, well, I'd agree with that, man. I mean, I'm gonna quickly go back and I'm gonna have a read of this. Let's have a read of some of the reviews for this movie, other reviews going around, so that we can see sort of like who and what they're saying about it. I'd rather just read out a couple where we can be like, I'd rather have a couple that we can sort of like get an idea of what people are reviewing it and what people are saying. So this is from Yahoo. Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe is one of the funniest films of the year. They say So, like in the 1990s, there was this cartoon show, Beavis and Butthead, and they made a long version, like a movie or something. And this is like another movie. It's a much of a no-brainer as much of a no-brainer that sounds. What's even dumber is how long it took to mount. A sequel to 1996's epic Beavis and Butthead Do America. That movie, the movie that once had the highest grossing non-family orientated box office, except for The Simpsons. So yeah, it once had the higher box office, blah blah blah. But basically, this person has said like it's better than the Simpsons movie. It's great. CNN said the Planet's animated duo make a semi-triumphant return in Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe, and says Rotten Tomatoes right now. Here you go, Rotten Tomatoes score. I'm going to bring this up right now for you, for everybody. This is interesting. Rotten Tomatoes. So, what we are looking at here is 96%, 89% audience, 96 from critics. That's huge, man. I mean, here on the left-hand side, you can see a lot of these people. Let's read some of the people that really didn't like it. 17%. Here we go. They didn't actually say anything, which doesn't help. Oh no, okay. That's not how it works. So yeah, interesting, man. I didn't think that this movie would get that sort of review. I remember when Beavis and Butthead Do America came out. Do you?
Yeah. I think I saw it in the cinemas. Yeah.
So did I. And I remember that movie not doing very well. I remember it getting slammed. I remember it didn't even last long at the cinemas. I think it was only like a couple of weeks or something. But I mean, I guess we could actually do that. Let's have a quick look at Beavis and Butthead Do America's IMDb information, because that might give us an idea of how this movie is comparing to the previous. When you saw it at the cinemas, what did you think about it?
I liked it. I was right into Beavis and Butthead. Like we just gotten. It wasn't that long after we got MTV on Foxtel or Optus Vision or whatever the hell it was. Yeah, Foxtel, I think. And yeah, so we started really getting exposed to Beavis and Butthead. Back before there's the internet, you could just find what you want to watch.
Yeah, well, so okay, with the first one, that has an IMDb rating of 6.8 and a Metascore critic of 64. Now, the AV Club gave it a 50 and said adds up to another prefab youth culture event and a mediocre movie. There are some yucks in this ludicrous movie, but what is amusingly embellished? What? Sorry. Has some funny moments. If you're a Beavis and Butthead fan, you'll enjoy the movie. It's just as juvenile as you'd expect, but still funny. And then one of the top ones at 80 says, even the harshest critic has to recognize the sheer unbridled joy of their ignorance. So, as you can see, Beavis and Butthead divided critics. It also didn't do super well. And by the looks of it, I didn't remember that this happened, but it came out in December of 96 at Christmas time. And what's even funnier is it's shorter than the new one.
Really?
It's an hour and 21 minutes.
Yeah.
And dude, how are these movies PG-13?
Very cleverly.
There's no way they're PG-13, man. Because I was like thinking about watching, like when I was watching this movie, I was like, would I let Quinn watch this? And I was like, no. Please, you Americans, you are the only ones that can settle this for us. How does the Batman get rated PG-13? Beavis and Butthead do America get rated PG-13? But then something like, what did we watch recently? Uncharted, PG-13. Batman and Robin, PG-13. These movies are completely different. They're all fucking like on different scales of like how adult they are. I don't get it. Please, hey, please save us. Please help us with this. If you're American, you can tell us how they are so flippant and so carefree with this PG-13 nonsense. So, is there anything else you'd like to add on sort of to that, Alan?
Not really. I think the only things it really missed that weren't big, but it didn't have like there was no big names or anything involved, as well as there's no. Like, I would have really liked it if we had, say, Rob Zombie or someone actually do a song for it like they used to. Like he did, like.
Yeah, we had Red Hot Chili Peppers do Love Roller Coaster for.
Yeah, that's it. Like one of those '90s bands kind of come back and do something for the soundtrack. I think would have been like the cherry on top there. I think. Definitely.
And we didn't really have any sort of cameo appearances from some like anyone in it, did we?
No, we didn't. It was that's another thing I found strange. It was I wouldn't say I disliked it, but I was surprised that there was not even like kind of a C-list celebrity in there somewhere.
Yeah, I agree. But what I think they did well is exactly the point to that, which is that they didn't need a lot more people than Beavis and Butthead for this actual story to work. Like there isn't a big cast. There isn't like a lot of people you have to keep track of. And like I'd say majority of the dialogue in this movie is Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah.
So
I had a morbid thought in it as well. So I was like thinking, oh, they didn't have the neighbor in the tool shed. And it's like, oh, wait, he'll be dead.
Yeah,
he's on. He was old then.
I just caught them whacking off in my camper.
That's another thing I like that they had Todd in there. That brief appearance of Todd in there, the teachers and the PA. At the start. The teacher and that. I like that they had some of those things in there, just subtly snuck in when they could.
Yeah, definitely. I think this movie's great, and I suggest anyone that likes Beavis and Butthead definitely watch it. And I also suggest that people that don't like Beavis and Butthead, give it a chance if you're in the mood for something funny and silly. And I'm going to give this movie a 5 out of 5.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. It ticked the boxes for me. Like the little things were little things, and I don't think they diminished it at all from what it is.
No, agreed. All right, so with that, we'll get into some quick trivia on this movie. Now, I don't know what sort of trivia we're looking at because the movie's still pretty fresh, but let's have a look. Okay, so we have 2 pieces of trivia. This movie was not directed by Mike Judge. It was directed by John Rice and Albert Caleros, which is kind of not really that much of a trivia thing, I guess, or whatever. The film finally reveals that the house is actually Beavis's home and that his mother's name is Shirley. It also reveals that Beavis is his last name. So weird, man. Do you remember in the fucking Do America when they meet like their dads out in the fucking forest? The desert or whatever?
Yeah.
So weird, man. It's like there's so many questions I do have about Beavis and Butthead. Like,
yes.
How? Why? Why do they even still go to the school? Like, who's forcing them to go and they don't, you know what I mean? They don't want to be there, but they still go. I wonder how many years they've stayed down. I wonder if there's like a fact sheet of like if they've been in that same grade for like 20 years or some shit. So yeah, that was a very quick version of our trivia, I guess. And of course, there's no real ranking going on for this because we've only done one movie. We're going to do the next one next week. And it's not really going to be a ranking as much as we're going to tell you which one's better, I guess. So with that, let's get into what is coming up for Ranked and Reviewed. Now, today we put up a trailer for what is coming up after our Batman Ranked and Reviewed series. Now, we have 3 more Batman movies to watch. For now, anyway, we can maybe add on some more once we finish the next series that we're doing. But the next series after that we're doing is ranked and reviewed Halloween. Now, we have done all the working out. We've done all the adding up. We've done all the calculations. And we have finally worked out that we have to start, if we're going to do a Halloween movie every week up until the new one releases in October, Halloween ends, we are going to have to start doing Halloween on July 20th. Wednesday, July 20th. We will be starting with Halloween 1. Now, this goes all the way through up until October 13th, where we will bring you the review for Halloween Ends, releasing the same day for us in Australia.
Where the fuck is this year gone? October nearly.
Well, it's not really, man. It's still a while away. It's just the fact that we've got so many goddamn movies to watch. So everyone can expect a big, action-packed Michael Myers 3 months. I'm excited about doing that, though. To be honest, this is probably the series I've been most excited to do since Scream, I'd say. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I'm excited to do it. It's overdue for me to look back on them. And I'm not even sure if I've seen Halloween 3. I'm pretty sure I've always kind of avoided it because I'm like, that's not Mike Myers.
Hey, guess what?
Yeah.
We're both in the same boat, baby. I haven't seen it either.
Yeah, there you go.
And that movie apparently has gained a sort of cult following now, and people are like, if it didn't have Halloween in the name, this would have been a family favorite for Halloween, like horror movies, and it would have done really well because apparently it's really good. But because the name Halloween is attached to it, that automatically makes it not a very good Halloween movie, but that's because it's not really a Halloween movie. You know what I mean? So it's interesting. I'm looking forward to watching it with that sort of perspective where I'm like, okay, people have said this is actually a pretty good movie. Maybe I'll go into this not as a Halloween movie and watch it from that angle. And then after it's finished, I can start criticizing how it doesn't compare to the Halloween movies. Because if we're going to put it in ranked and reviewed, we're going to have to compare it to the other movies.
Yeah.
There's just no way around it. So I'm not looking forward to watching Halloween 5, Halloween 6, or Halloween Resurrection. But let's do it, baby. And I think it's about time we do a new episode of Louder Pop Culture Podcast this week as well, because I have a lot to say about the new PlayStation Plus that's just released. It was released yesterday, and I have upgraded, and I'm here to tell everyone about it, but not yet. So me and ALANNIS are going to sort that out. You got a lot of content coming up, baby. A lot. So, yeah, coming up this week, still, Louder Pop Culture Podcast. Next week, Beavis and Butthead Do America, ranked and reviewed. The Dark Knight Rises, ranked and reviewed. Then we've got 2 Batman movies after that, including Batman vs. Superman, Lego Batman movie. And then we're getting into Halloween ranked and reviewed. So, everyone, hold on to your butts.
Yes.
Life finds a way.
Wrapped.
Sometimes some people just want to watch the world burn, man.
It's ice to see.
Hello, Sydney. Rachel! Yeah, I'm not the one that's wearing fucking hockey pants. All right, guys. Thank you for watching Ranked and Reviewed. I am your host, TOMYE West. And joining me as always has been my co-host, ALANNIS Maximus. Remember, if you haven't, subscribe, like, and share. Leave a comment because it makes us feel good, which makes you feel good. That's right, isn't it, Alan?
It is. Then we all feel good.
Exactly. And ALANNIS, when does this fucking episode end?
Now.
Ah!